This is the Get a Life podcast. Ex-Cult Conversations.
Jackie Davies is speaking as a concerned relative of the deceased in the Bethany Chapel graveyard, not in her capacity as a town councillor.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Get a Life podcast, Ex-Cult Conversations. I'm joined by my friends Abby, Anne and Ross, and we have a very special guest with us, Jackie Davies, who lives near Newtown. Now, there's recently been some controversy over a property bought by the Brethren near where Jackie lives. And we thought we'd start this podcast with a short video clip from the BBC News that gives some explanation as to what we'll be discussing this evening.
Police are investigating after an access road to a car park was built on part of a graveyard at the Powys Chapel. A Christian group that owns the building says it has planning permission to restore it to become a place of worship again. But relatives of people buried at Bethany Chapel near Newtown say they weren't consulted and are angry and upset over the works. Craig Duggan reports.
A Grade 2 listed chapel in a small Powys hamlet, but for people with relatives buried here, Hoddley is now the focus of major concern. The building is being renovated, a new access road and car park have been built on part of the old graveyard. Headstones were moved to make way for the road. It's thought a number of graves are now under it. Relatives of the deceased say they weren't consulted. The great-grandparents of Jackie's husband were laid to rest here. She's spoken with other distressed families.
Relatives have been in touch with us. Horrified that this has happened to their loved ones who've been laid to rest here. They've come with flowers. They're just distraught. They don't know what to do. It's just there's an insensitivity of what's happened here. And they feel nobody cares.
A headstone in memory of William and Martha White has been moved. In a statement, their descendants said they're shocked and deeply upset by the work. They're calling for reassurance that their loved ones' remains have not been disturbed or taken away. The owners of the chapel, the Dolafon Trust, say they're aware of concerns about the restoration work, but they're adhering meticulously to the planning consent granted by Powys Council. The Trust adds it's worked closely with the Council and other authorities to ensure the plans are delivered sensitively and appropriately. Last year, a Powys Council planning officer approved an application from the Trust for a change in land use to create the car park and vehicle access. Consent was granted despite opposition from Powys' Highways Department and the Community Council. Elwyn Vaughan, the Plaid Cymru group leader on the council, says the case raises many questions.
The graves under the road here, so a road being built right through the graveyard, showing total lack of respect and fundamental questions about the application itself. Last application described a place of agricultural land, which is totally misleading to say the least. Did the planning officer actually have a site visit here? I understand not. Why not?
Dyfed Powys Police says it's investigating a report of criminal damage, and Powys Council is looking into a breach of planning conditions. The chapel owners say their priority is to be good neighbours, and they aim to complete the restoration with respect and compassion to re-establish the chapel as a place of worship.
Thank you. So, Jackie, that's the little chapel that you know as Bethany Chapel, but I believe your locals call it Hoddley Chapel. Take us back to the beginning and what happened and how you found out that the drive had been built there.
Well, I got told about this about a year ago, and because of it being a graveyard, I was told by relatives that they intended on putting a drive over the graves, or around the graves, I should say, to make access to the back of the chapel. I knew a bit about planning, and I said that wouldn't happen. A lot of my colleagues said can't happen, won't happen, because of it being such a sensitive issue, and you'd have to get the Home Office involved, you'd have to get various other organisations to do such, it just isn't going to happen. Right, so a year later, I got a call off my husband saying, I think you need to come down and have a look at what's happened at Mum's. I said, right. So I went down, and to my horror, there used to be a 50-foot, maybe 70-foot long and 7-foot high hedge, mature hedge. Now, this is now mid-July. Well, I say mid-July, 20-something of July, 25th, actually. And the hedge gone. Now, I was at my mother-in-law's 2 days before, and I heard the birds in nesting. We knew hedgehogs were in there. We knew that there was pigeon nests, and we also knew that there was other birds' nests in there. And this was actually in the report by the heritage officer as well, when the plans were going ahead, and these were the concerns they had about the hedge. This was anyway. So this hedge has been completely ripped out, all been done within a day, and it's huge. And behind the hedge, I think you may have a photograph. Behind the hedge is a load of rubble, which then I was told that the rubble, and I mean, it's mounds and mounds of obviously been dug up and everything. Of soil and stone, and don't know if you actually got that one there. Actually, I can't see it, but anyway, it is on the side page. And it was shocking. There was a digger there, and we realised that they'd actually done it all over the graves, and it was like mounds and mounds of soil, and it was horrific, to be honest, to see.
So just to clarify for people who, you live near the chapel, but am I right in understanding your mother-in-law, did you say, lives right next to it?
Dead opposite. So if you look at some of the photos, there was a 7 foot high, could have been higher hedge, so you could not see over that hedge to see that chapel. The pictures on here now, if you actually look at, say, the last ones, I think you've got there, you can actually see that would be from my mother-in-law's front door, straight across there. You see the chapel, you see everything. That is literally her view. And it's only it's a B lane, which is a very, very small lane. It wouldn't be big. If you actually look at the plans as well, the plans aren't drawn to scale, so they should never have been approved. I've proven this. They should never have been approved anyway. So this is obviously something else we took up with the planning officer. So we contacted our local councillor at the time. We contacted a couple of councillors, actually. Our local councillor didn't seem too interested. Couldn't quite understand why. Later, we've worked it all out. So we got another councillor come down who is a part of planning, and he came and he was horrified at what he's seen. The next day he came straight down. He couldn't believe what we were looking at. He said it should have come to a planning committee, which is what normally happens. It obviously hadn't gone to planning committee. We found out that one lady in the offices at the planning and her supervisor had signed it off for it to go through. They obviously signed off apparently the first set of plan, which you can see there. Where it sort of like goes round to the back of the chapel.
So sorry, Jackie, to interrupt, but just to recap on the plan on the left of the screen, the red line going up to the side, the narrow end of the chapel, not the end where presumably the altar was, that shows it going past the graveyards and not disturbing them.
Yeah,
is that correct? So
that's the plan that went in, and if you look at it, you think that would be the case. Now, actually, again, that is not drawn to scale in relation to the fact that there's a small like shed looking thing there, but a garage. Can you see it at the front of the entrance?
Yes.
That is actually a massive double garage, huge, and it takes up the whole of that area, and it actually comes out to really where the line of the red is at the front, as you if you were going through the gates. So it's already causing a visible issue to start with. Okay, it's not theirs. It's not their property. It's owned by somebody in the cottages. It's not actually theirs. And then the red line that goes round it, if you like.
Yes.
That hedge in there actually also belongs to the garage, not to them, not to the Bethrens. So basically, how this plan's been drew is it's took in other people's land, and it shouldn't have done. Yeah.
So to clarify, if you look at the plan on the right, you can see the red line going across the graveyard, and then the dotted line was the original one on the left, even though it's not to scale. Yeah, and then also you're pointing out around the garage in the bottom right, instead of being a square around the garage, there's been land cornered off and the hedge cut down. So extra land has almost been claimed. Have we understood that correctly?
That's how they've done it. For extra land claimed from this other person's who owns it, but they didn't. When you actually go and have a look at it, they haven't claimed it. They haven't actually used it. Do you know what I mean? It's very false, if I'm honest. So
So can I just recap on something else? You, as I understand it, have some knowledge of planning. What did you, because you said a year beforehand you heard this might happen, and your reaction was, oh, it would never happen because they're graves. Yeah. What was your understanding of what the law says to protect graves, however old they are?
Well, you'd have to get contact the Home Office anyway, because obviously the burials site, because of it with the graves and everything. But also what I did know, and I was aware of now in our area, I don't know whether it's all throughout the UK, but certainly in Powys, if highways have objected, then normally I'd say 95% of the time it won't get passed. Now I know, and that was my argument to think about, highways had objected, CADU had objected, and so had
who are they?
CADU are the history, if you like. I can't think what the short can't remember what it's called now, but it's all to do with archaeology. Okay, so the history archaeologists, yeah. So they actually they objected because what we got told, and it's in the paperwork, that there are 2 listed graves in the graveyard. Now, we don't know as of yet what 2 listed graves they are. So when I turned up and seen the mess that was there, the horror, it's horrific. It was absolutely horrific to see. When I seen it, and I went to the contractor at the time, and I said, could you tell me which 2 are the listed great headstones? He said, I didn't know there was any. That's it. There we are. There's the picture.
Wow. Oh, dear.
So that was what I came up with. That's what I got called to. And I was absolutely horrified. I couldn't even explain. It was sickening. It was beyond sickening. You looked and and knowing that there's people under that.
So looking at that picture there, if you describe to our listeners and viewers, that's what you saw. Where in relation to that mound of earth and the gravel did you know the graves to be?
Oh, under it.
Under it. So that's directly over some of the graves. Wow.
Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3. I could say there's at least 3 to my right, if I'm looking at it now. So more to the edge side. There's at least 3 there. There's then of course where this grass verges, where there's obviously the graveyard is, that's where you've got the ones where you've seen the stakes going in.
Yes, we've got some pictures of those, I think.
So there we are. So their bodies are lying under that as well. Because that's the drive. So I think there's 2 of them. There's one just a bit further up, which you can't see. That's actually got tucked away, but that again was there. And when I must tell you a story on this. When I obviously confronted Peter Roberts about this, who's the Brethren, Plymouth Brethren, and I said to him, it was shocking, really. I said, "Why have you dug up over the graves?" He said, "There's no graves under here." I said, "No." I said, "Sorry." I said, "There is graves." No, there's no graves, he said. This is the truth now. This is a man telling me in front of witnesses, councillors. We had the minister from the Welsh Assembly there as well, and also the county councillor. So another one. And we were standing there, and I said, "No, there is." So I walked around to show Peter Roberts that these are graves. He went marching across to I don't know where he was going, to be fair, but he sort of marched off, and I said, "Excuse me, could you come here, please?" And he came back. He didn't like me saying it, but I said, "We stood at the foot of this grave," and I said, and he went to walk across. I said, "No," I said, "This is somebody's burial site. You are going to walk on somebody's burial site. You've put a stake in somebody's head, if you like." And do you know what? It was like, he didn't believe he'd done it. He didn't believe it was there. It was like, honestly now, it's completely oblivious to what we were trying to say. I didn't know what religion the Brethren were. I've got to be honest about you. I didn't. We have, we're in a village, and some of their children go to the village school, and up until they're about 7 or 8, I can't remember. I think 7. And yes, it's 7. And our children have mixed with the children, they have, and I never had a problem with them. I just thought, well, that's their religion, that's their choice, that's, they've seen private people. And I said, "What religion are you?" And he said, "We're Christians." I said, "Well, you do, I do." I said, "Well, do you think it's right for Christians to have done this to Methodist Christians. Because let's be fair now, years ago, 100 years ago or whatever, 50 years ago, it was very quite strong religion. You know, the chapel religion was very, very strong.
Yeah.
But he still couldn't, it was like he just couldn't gasp of what we were saying to him. He just couldn't as I said, I think he did get his back up. He didn't like it. He asked me, what do you want me to do about it? And I just said, like, well, everybody wanted it restored. And he just nodded his head. And then when he first got out of his car, he come shooting down to me. And as I said, there was counsellors there. And my mother-in-law and Alan, whose ancestors are actually under that, his grandparents. And he come shooting down. He said, I suggest you lot go and stand outside Powys County Council, Powys County Planning Officers. Not here. Go on, move on. Words to that effect. But he basically did tell us all to move on. And my mother-in-law was absolutely horrified. My husband said, he's been born and bred there, and he said, you don't talk to people like that. It was like they owned the place. They owned it. They didn't. It was actually a public road we were on, and it was outside my mother-in-law's house. It was the rudeness. It was their right, and what they were doing was right in their mind, and they didn't seem to understand that it's not right. It wasn't acceptable. It was sacred land, and it was our people. If we want to be, I said to him, at the end of the day, I said, we've left you alone. Nobody bothers. We let you get on. You build your big churches. You're building your houses, which, to be fair, a lot of them haven't got local needs on them, which, let's be fair, most people around here, if you went to build a house in the rural area, you'd have to put local needs of some sort. But they, funny enough, don't have to, or don't seem to have to. They build these big, a mile down the road, if that, there's a massive big church being built there. They've got one in Sarn, which Abby would know about. And then they've got one in Newtown. They're not short of these buildings. Why they'd want a little chapel like that, which they've absolutely gutted, by the way, and we don't really know where the pulpit is, which is supposed to stay within that church, within that chapel. No, it's pretty horrific, to be honest. The whole lot of it is shocking, to be fair.
So I know Pete Roberts personally. I lived at his house for a while. I completely understand what you would have been met with in terms of when someone's up against him, he doesn't like it, and he gets quite angry quite quickly. They have been looking for what they call a subdivisional room. So they've got city rooms, which is the big one in the centre of Newtown, like next to McDonald's or near McDonald's by the river. And then they have subdivisional rooms throughout the outskirts of Newtown. So they go to the main meeting room for their main meetings, and then they'll have prayer meetings, supper meetings, 3:15s or 5:15s at subdivisional rooms. And that's why they've wanted these dotted round, so they don't have to use the main room. This is what happens all over the Brethren community. So they've been in, I know in Sarn and Kerry, they've been having suppers in the house for years and years and years, and then more Brethren are moving out to those areas. I don't know where that is in relation to Hodley, because obviously I was in Sarn, Kerry, Newtown area when I lived there.
Yeah, because where Hodley is? It's between Kerry. It's the road between Kerry and Abermewell.
Got ya. I know where it is.
Yeah, and there is the Simpsons. One of the Simpsons sisters live there. She's like a crossroads, and they actually live there. They actually started to buy the houses in that area. There's several, but they've sort of dotted and started to take over a bit. And,
so you know where the railway crossroads is?
That's it. That's where the other one's been built.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. And they've got some. I think they've also. Somebody said they've got 4 houses being built around there as well.
Probably.
But it's like they've put a steel frame. They're doing that building, And that, again, is something they don't normally allow. Do you know what I mean? Planning don't normally allow.
Where there's money, there's power, unfortunately.
No, to be fair, it's something we're all establishing now. We all can see what's going on now. Yes. A lot of us are open. We can see. I mean, we know. I mean, what frustrated us was the woman who signed off the plans. And then she had to have a supervisor sign off, and he's like head of planning. He's a nightmare, to be fair. He is her brother-in-law.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, so the brethren will have done them a favour.
I think, yes,
along the line, so that they're returning.
I mean, now obviously you've got the, that's right. So then I obviously started to find out more and more about the brethren and what they do and what they stand for. And who is behind the brethren as well. Now, obviously, the county council of that area is actually Conservative, but he backed off big time. Now, obviously, I got some information and found out that obviously the brethren, during the pandemic or COVID, whatever you want to call it, they got granted a certain amount of money from the Tory government. And then what happens is, for the charitable status, and then so much of that money gets given back as donations. So I started to work it out. RAM, Russell George, didn't get involved. Our MP, Craig Williams, didn't get involved. And I'll be honest with you, I joined them about 4 months ago because I was going to stand as a county councillor to get in. I tried it last year before as an independent. Didn't work out, so I went and joined them. And I actually, the day I realised they weren't going to do anything against the brethren, and they weren't, I quit. I resigned. They didn't like that because they just know I'm quite a fighter, quite challenging. I have been, I do fight for people's rights, and I'm very vocal on certain things because I'm not happy with the way things are. I'm certainly not with the way Powys is. However, they didn't get involved, and I couldn't understand it. The only councillor that would get involved is Plaid, which is Alwyn Vaughan. And to be fair, he put his neck on the line, and he has really, really tried. And we knew we had to start the campaign straight away, so that's what we did. We set up the page, the Facebook page. I obviously am familiar to the area, so my husband, as I said, there's lots of locals we knew, so they all come on board. We wanted it restored. That's a picture of that's Alwyn Vaughan on the far end. Then there's my mother-in-law. There's the minister from the Welsh government, myself, and that gentleman's Alan Jones, whose family are under the grave. Who was literally words disturbed. And that was the day Peter Roberts come down straight out of his car and straight at us. We're hardly a bunch of hooligans, were we? Do you know what I mean? But he really did. It was quite, I wouldn't have wanted to be on my own with him as a woman, because I think he's very intimidating. I would, because I can deal with it. But I'd feel sorry I can imagine being very overpowering to women. Certainly, the way he spoke to me, he didn't have no respect for me. I was nobody. But yeah, it's just how it was. He was quite not very nice, really.
So when you started the campaign, that was about summer of this year, once you realised what had happened to the graves and the hedge and so on. How much at that point, when you started the campaign, did you know about the Brethren and the Gospel Hall Trust? I think it was Dolafon Gospel Hall Trust who had bought the site.
Yeah, Dolafon.
Dolafon.
We'll have fun with that one. I didn't. That was the thing. We didn't know. They were private people. They kept themselves to themselves in our minds. So we didn't know. We knew very little. We knew that they were buying a lot of land. That was something that, because obviously we've got family in the building trade. We've got family, who connected. There's other people, friends who were connected to them. And then a lot of people sort of said, I didn't realise that there were so many people against them, actually. I didn't realise there is a lot of people that don't like them for what they seem to be doing now, because they seem to sort of, I don't know, they had their own little network, and now they're sort of crawling out a bit now amongst the people. They're obviously, as I said, they've got planning eating out of the hand. There's no doubt about that. We can see that. We can see that at the meeting. I think the police they're involved with as well, because the police aren't. I mean, oh my goodness. Could you just imagine me going over to the graveyard across the road where I live and start digging up over the graves and, I want to lay them.
You'd just get arrested on the spot, wouldn't you?
You couldn't even move a great headstone, never mind anything else. So I mean, I'm frustrated with that one, yeah.
But the point I was trying to make there, and you're absolutely right, Jackie, this is not about religious persecution of the brethren, because you knew very little about them and had no objection to them living in your community, and they didn't cause any trouble, even if you thought their ways might be a little bit different. Yeah. So this is not about religious persecution. This is actually about them having no respect for the deceased that were buried in that graveyard. It's a humanitarian thing, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's what I said to him. That's exactly what I said to Peter Roberts on the day. I said, I looked at him, you don't care, do you? You do not care that. I told him, you've trespassed. I said, we've left you alone. We let you do what you want. Your children go to our schools. I said, we have literally had to give you no problem. I said, but now, you've trespassed on our land now. And that's how I looked at it. He's trespassed on us. I said, you've dug over our ancestors' graves. I mean, in that graveyard, my husband's great-grandparents are in there. Their 2 young children are in there. There's one 4 months old and one a year old. They're actually twins, they were. And, they weren't, I can't say they weren't affected, because obviously the digging, the banging, everything else that was going on in that graveyard would be affecting the whole of that area. I mean, it's affecting the house where my mother-in-law lives, shaking. So, but he did not. Peter Roberts did not get it. He didn't. He was very quite arrogant. It was just rude. It was almost like their entitlement. Yeah, it was their land. They do what they want. And
I think the point was very well made, actually, in one of the discussions on Facebook. We know the brethren have their own graveyards now, not in some places. What would happen if a contractor, non-brethren, went and started digging over a brethren grave? I mean, yeah, Abby's face says it all.
Actually, I've got to say, that's exactly what I said to Peter Roberts. I said, I'll tell you what, I said, you tell me, because I was really, really upset, by the way. I said, you tell me, I said, where your ancestors are built, and I will go and take a post, and I will go and hammer it into their grave. And he just looked horrified at my face. And I was very, very upset, very, very angry. Yeah. And, the councillors that were with me were like, but to be fair, to all the men that were with me, they stepped back and they allowed me to be quite confrontational back at him. We were really, really face to face, I've got to admit, but I was angry. But they allowed me, because a lot of them said he wouldn't be used to that.
Yeah.
He would not be used of a woman. Yes. No. And it was almost like, they're used to speaking to the men. They don't speak to the woman. If they have to speak to the men, it's the men. They don't. So I think he must have went home with such an headache that day. Never mind the issue of what they've done wrong, but the fact that he must have gone home thinking that woman, he's looked at my husband like, please put her under control. And you can see my husband like, yeah, I have to live with her. But, it's really, this is what happens in the real world.
I was just going to say, this is the hypocrisy of it all. I mean, I'm pulling up a news article here. And basically, we were just talking about the brethren having their own graveyards. And the reason for that was that there was an incident in France where there were small PBCC graves that were moved to make way for construction. And basically, the brethren got so outraged by it, that is when Bruce Hales instructed the brethren to have their own graveyards in their meeting rooms.
Wow. I didn't know that, boss. Yeah, that's messy.
I did get told that story, and I was like, well, it was, as you said, it's hypocrisy how they've done it. You just can't,
I'm very surprised knowing how careful the brethren are with not getting themselves into trouble with the law, with planning, with anyone. They don't want any bad spotlights on them. I'm very, very surprised how they've just almost, they've completely overstepped the mark. And I know Peter Roberts, or Pete Roberts as I know him, will have an absolute nightmare on his hands, because he will have been contacted by people further up the line because of the publicity, and they will have come down like a ton of bricks on that man's head. So he's also got that behind him to fuel his anger, and it won't be easy to deal with. I expect they'll get someone else like a Simpson or
they did. They did. We watched it. It was quite funny to see, really. After we had the meeting, we went and had a meeting with Powys County Council. There was me, Alan Jones, whose grandparents are under the rubble, and Owen Vaughan and another gentleman from the local man. So we went to have a meeting with the portfolio holder of the council, who was very arrogant, Gwilyn Davies, who is the supervisor, signing off officer, who seems to sign off an awful lot of staff for the Brethren, and his relation, Gemma Bufton, who signed off this as well. Now, when we were there, they asked us what we wanted, and which I thought was a bit strange, because actually we told them what we wanted. We told the Brethren what we wanted. What happened then? They then pulled. In the morning, before I went to this meeting, the Brethren. I am writing this, aren't I? Yeah, I think I'm writing this. They turned up at. Yes, they did. They turned up at my mother-in-law's house. Now, my mother-in-law is an 80-year-old lady, okay? Quite frail. So she was there. By luck, my husband was there as well, thank goodness. So there was a knock at the door. My husband, my mother-in-law was going to the hospital, actually. So he opened the door and basically, what you want? And it was Peter Roberts and Ben Lyons.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So Ben Lyons was they come and said, they told my husband what their plans were going to be, what they were going to do, which is the plans of what they've actually done, not quite what they've done now. Anyway, just before that's it, literally, I was at Welshpool, and I was on the phone to my husband, and he said, "Oh my goodness, the Brethren are here." I said, "You what?" I said, "They're there." Now I know that, and there was two of them. So I thought, well, I'm not having this, right? And I think we need witnesses to a lot of stuff. We do need witnesses. I didn't trust them with my husband because, and whatever. So I literally did manage to get to Abermule quite quickly. Well, oddly. So I turned up. It was quite funny, really. Bear in mind, I've never met Ben Lyons ever. So I dumped my car right behind theirs, actually blocked them in. I then ran down the lane to where they were, and they were there with my husband, and they were telling him what they were going to. And I went, "You all right, Brian?" And he said, "Yeah." And this Ben Lyons went, "Hello, Jackie." And you know what, right? It was how he said it was still ringing in my ears 2 days later. It was a real
condescending, isn't it?
It's a very strange way. It was, "Hello, Jackie." I thought, you don't know me, but I was like, and I could still hear his voice. And I don't know whether they're trained or there's something very, very strange there. Anyway, so I didn't actually answer him. I got to admit, I didn't really, and I certainly didn't speak to Peter Roberts. Anyway, they were telling him what they're going, and he said to me, my husband trying to explain about the drain. They put a drain in. Now, this drain, right, which has gone into the side of this, is a drain, and it shouldn't be there. And Brian said, he knows all about drains. He said, "That's not running in the right way." And Ben said, "What do you mean?" And so Brian explained where. He said, "If it's gone back as you should have, you haven't only gone through those graves, the pipe has also been pushed through to the other graves. So you've disturbed more graves." Well, this poor Ben was having a breakdown, and he looked at Brian and he said to Peter, like just straight to him, "Measure that now," like really quite at him. And this Peter's there getting his measuring tape out, and he's like a naughty little boy. It was quite funny, really. So, and then my husband said after you could see, and it started to rain, and they sort of had nowhere to go. It was quite funny. And they were there like getting soaking wet. I had my hood on, so I was fine. And they were literally getting absolutely drenched, and it was pouring down the rain. And they went by the side of my mother-in-law's. I thought, I said to my husband, "You should have invited them in. They'd have had a heart attack." Anyway, but Ben was quite overpowering to Peter.
He would be. He's above Peter. He's above Peter.
He was Peter was very yes no type of thing. There was, you could see the pecking order, if you like, just me not knowing them, but I could see it.
100%.
So I went to the meeting, and I'd obviously already knew about the plans, what they wanted to do. So they thought they were telling me something new. And after I said, well, actually, I already knew because I'd met Ben and I'd met Peter. They didn't want me to get involved with them, but I insisted they had my email address, and they contacted me, and they were not to knock on my mother-in-law's door ever again because, I didn't think it's right. They didn't like that, but that was hard luck. So a couple of days later, I had an email off Ben. Very nice, very friendly, trying to be. Yes, what is it you want? So I told him what we wanted, everything, basically what we needed and what we wanted, basically restore it all back. Plus we wanted hedging, because the problem you've got is with the hedge, my mother-in-law now, I mean, to be fair, it might have even devalued my mother-in-law's house, because you're looking straight into a graveyard, literally. So we asked for the hedge to be put, a mature hedge to be put back.
So just to recap, when you started the campaign and then it obviously went back to the council, am I right in recollecting that the council also had said, is that correct? They had said you've got to restore this. I mean, what was decided at the council level? I know
we've been having private meetings with the Brethren, you see. We've never all had a meeting together. Okay. It's been the closed doors between the Brethren and Powys County Council. Then the Brethren contacting me now, off path going past my mother-in-law's. Don't know what they were going to do with my mother-in-law, to be fair. I don't know what that was about. But anyway, obviously spoke and told us what they were going to put a pathway up the side. Yeah. They weren't going to be touching any graves. They were going to get a stonemason in to replace the graves, put the headstones back. And I asked for a minister to be present when the great headstones go on. Yeah. I asked for somebody to, because obviously you do have graves with headstones, but again, when you're talking the age of those graves, there's a few graves under there, and I have been told there is one that's unmarked, at least, if the family's come forward and said there is an unmarked grave there. So ideally they needed, and I'm sure I'm within right saying this, they needed to get the machinery to sort of trace where the graves are. You can't just go and take a load of headstones and suddenly go, oh, sorry, we'll pop one over there and we'll pop one over there. That's what it looks like they've done. Can you see if you actually look at that those last photographs?
If this is the original.
Yeah, if you go to the last bit, there, look, can you see this? They've put like stumps in there, pegs in there, as my husband calls them. So there's that's it. There's a peg there, and there's another two along. They're almost blending in with the ground.
Oh yeah, I can just see them.
Yeah, that's not where those graves are. Those graves are more over this side. They're more over to the rear, if you like, of the chapel.
So but is there actually more graves under there? Is that what the pegs signify?
Have a look. Can you see? They've put.
This is the original, is it? Before it was touched.
Yeah, that's it. And there's another grave further up as well. You can't quite see it. There's this in the far end corner. Yeah. Towards the gate, where the gate would be, the other side. Go down. Yeah, sort of there. As you come through the gates that they've just put up there, there is actually a grave there. There's a stone there. That's it. Yeah. So there's one there, and then but they haven't put them in the right places. So they're just going to now just basically drop the headstones where they want. Yeah. And
they need underground scanners, don't they?
That's right.
They will do, won't they?
I told them they want that. I said we wanted a minister there when they get the headstones on, and we want the hedge put back in. And there was another thing, I can't remember top end. But anyway, he actually got back to me after I told him, and he said he's passed it on to the team. This is Ben Lyne said he's passed it on to the team, whoever they are. And I can't guarantee you will get everything you want, but we are working the best we can towards what you're requesting, right? He then turned around and said, please do not put these emails on social media. He didn't say I couldn't read them out, though. He just told me not to put them on.
We haven't put them on social media.
Those are good.
This is a conversation.
But he's trying to control you already.
Thank you. I know. Yes. And that's what's really, 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 really got up my nose. So now this is why I didn't know what they were going to do with the final, what they've done now, what we've seen, what they've done, or whatever I wouldn't even call it, whatever that is. I didn't know what they were going to do. It's still incorrect. It shouldn't be like that. That's completely wrong again. So you can see the hedge at the side. That is not their hedge, see? So that's why, but that is included in the plans, but that's not their hedge. And that's where the original footpath was supposed to be going.
I know what will happen next. I can almost envision what will happen next. That double garage. they will ask whoever that belongs to if they can purchase that double garage, and they will offer ridiculous money so that they can make a road in that way instead.
Yeah.
So what access do they have now?
Right. Do you know the other side of that church, the chapel? At the other side, there is an access road. They can go out that way onto the road.
So behind the chapel, but we
Behind
can't
the
see
chapel,
in that.
literally the opposite side of that chapel. Now, the other side, there is actually a road through there. You can go through there.
So they could have built a road in from that way and come at the chapel from the other way.
If you actually look at where's the chapel? You can't see it on that one. Look at have you got the plans with the red? Yeah, you know the plans with the red?
Just off screen.
Yeah, there's the other plans. The original plans you've got, have a look at those. I don't know if it's on that one. Hold on.
See on that? No, you can't see.
No, it's not on that one. No. Right. Where's the see? Can you see the other side of the chapel? Yeah. And that brings you onto the road. But apparently, this is really funny now. We have a U road, so it's a really, it's like a lane, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a B road that goes across, right? So that would come out onto a B road. The highways had refused that because they said visibility. They've got a lot more visibility there than they would have on that U road. Because you come out there, you'd be blocking. It's absolutely horrendous there. There's a bend. So it's just crazy. It's crazy, the whole lot.
It shows how desperate they were for somewhere to have a supper, though.
Absolutely crazy. I can't I don't get it. So now, as far as I know, I think they will come through there now. I think they're going to get planning. Well, not even planning. It's just we signed off, because that seems to be what's looking like happening at the minute. Things are being signed off. I mean, for them to do that work, what they've done now, they've altered their plans, but it hasn't gone to a committee. So how's that been? How are they able to just go and go, oh, actually, we changed our mind now. We're not going to do it like that one. We're going to do it like this one.
We're going to have the entrance in the other area.
You can't do that. You just that's what you've got planning.
So what do you think? I mean, what I'm trying to get to here is, you're not brethren. We all have been brethren. We kind of know some of the mentality. What did it make you think about the mentality of a group of people that could do that without thinking it? I mean, dig up and cover up graves and concrete over them without thinking it might upset people. What does that say to you about the brethren and their mindset?
I think they're disrespectful. They are disrespectful to us now. I think they've actually have upset. I think we've opened our eyes to them, whereas I said before, we let them get on with whatever they wanted to do. My goodness, this now is blown out open so much that a lot. I mean, you see our page. You've seen what people are writing even yesterday. People are disrespecting them now. I had heard that Peter Roberts had said to someone, I think we've upset the people in the village. Yeah, you have, mate. You have. You're right there. There's not, don't even think. And somebody had said, well, yeah, I think you might have done. Yeah, you have.
Well spotted, Spotty.
I mean, you have upset the people. The thing is, what I don't think they realised was, in where my husband just bought up, you've got the old and you've got the newer people coming in. But the older people, the community is still there. So when I went to a thing called the Silver Threads in the village hall, and I did a speech to the 60 women and men maybe that were there, and I explained what was happening at Hodley Chapel. Bear in mind, this is in the village of Kerry, and I turned around and I said they didn't know who owned it at the time, and I went and explained. I got my photos. I did like a PowerPoint for them. And these are ones that, over 60, and they do all these bingo and whatever they do. And their faces, when I said it was the Plymouth Brethren, that's actually, I said it was a Dolafon Trust. Mm-hmm. And I said, and they all didn't have a clue. I went, the Plymouth Brethren, the Brethren. And I heard the gasp in that room. And they went, the Brethren. And literally the horror and shock. And they went, give us that petition. And they all started signing it. That must have been about 50, 60 people in that one room. And Kerry isn't huge. It's not a huge village, as Abby would know. Yeah. But that's a lot of people from Sarn, from Abermewell. So when you think about it now, they are getting a very bad reputation in the area. They really, really are.
And I've noticed they've ramped up RRT work to try to cover up what's going on at that chapel. I've seen like 2 or 3 town posts.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not going to work. Like, we all know why that charity was set up in the first place, to disguise what the hell they're doing. And now they're trying to use it again.
The issue they've got now is because of this mistake they have made, and it is a clear, huge impact, mistake, error on their part. They have now highlighted other things about them that me just sitting here talking to you for now. I mean, I didn't know you people. I didn't even know there were ex-bedroom people out there. I had no idea. But the information that I have learned and the stories that I've been told, I mean, obviously that's relayed to other people I know. And, you know, as many, I don't know if you do know, but I'm actually a town councillor in Newtown. I couldn't get involved as a town councillor for Kerry because I'm not linked to it. But obviously, if you put my name in, you'll see who I am. The thing is, I also know a lot of people. And at the end of the day, if people know me and they know if I'm telling them, I'm telling the truth. And I generally am. I mean, as I said, I can be quite controversial in a lot of things. But they mess with the wrong people, if I'm honest. They come to the small little hamlet of Hodley and thought, oh, people. He said, oh, no, he's been in here for 7 years.
Yeah.
I said, but they have. Oh, but they haven't cut the grass. They haven't. No, they haven't. It was a little bit of a nature area, but people still went walking around there. People did go in there. You know, the one woman from Oswestry turned up to put flowers on her grandparents' grave. What she does twice a year with her 12-year-old daughter. And hey, Fesco, you've there. She's got nothing.
The grave's not there.
It's gone.
Yeah.
So I've heard from an insider.
Yeah, there we are. Flowers. They didn't know where to put those flowers.
That is just heartrending. That's where the grave was it?
Yeah, that was it. Well, somewhere there.
That's so poignant, that picture.
You think of it this way: she's been going there for twice a year for probably since her grandparents died, right? She's been going there, and she couldn't even find where to put the flowers. So how on earth are those people going to know where to put the headstones back? She'd been going, she should know the position of where her grandparents were buried, but she couldn't do that. So she can't, they ain't going to know at all. And that in itself is disrespectful, that they think by putting some pegs in some soil, that sorted it. No, it hasn't. It hasn't.
No.
And it's more than disrespectful, it's arrogant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've heard from an insider that the opinion of people that are rightly kicking up a fuss about what they've done, that, let me look at the words, hang on. One of them was sentimental. Now, brethren don't agree with sentimentality. So no one ever puts flowers on any of their graves. Once they're dead, they're with the Lord, and it's just their body left in the ground. And so why would you go and visit a graveyard? Like, people don't visit their graves unless it's like mums with young children who have lost a dad or something like that. Once you're in the ground, you've forgotten about. That's how they deal with it. So they said, so the insider who's given me the information has said that the villagers are being ridiculous and sentimental and pathetic. So that's their mentality about you fighting actually for what's right. I mean, it's your loved ones. Just because they don't get sentimental or have feelings, like we have feelings out here, they don't have feelings. Just because we are different in that we have feelings doesn't mean that they can destroy what's not theirs.
I agree with you, and that is true. And I could see that. I could see that by the attitude of Peter Roberts. You could see it. the way he spoke. It was like, as I said, he was almost like a blank canvas. He was in a different zone. His whole attitude was, what's your problem? There's no graves under here. Well, yes, there is.
So, Jackie, I also had a message forwarded to me in September, and I want to read it out because I would quite like to you to comment on it. This was a message that was going around the brethren in September. I gather it's all blown out of proportion by someone who likes making trouble. From a very overgrown graveyard which you couldn't get at to a maintained one, and this is the price you pay. The council knew the complainer and wanted to let it blow over. The graveyard won't be owned by the brethren once the work is completed, but we will maintain it. Have gathered someone who has left us from possibly the Gloucester area got involved somewhere in it.
Would that be me?
I have no idea who that person is, the person from Gloucester. So that again demonstrates the level of real concern, or lack of it, that this community have for what has happened in your area. How does that make you feel?
It doesn't surprise me that they've said that, and it doesn't surprise me. I could probably pinpoint where the source come from as well, who's told them this, because obviously, as much as they are against people like me who speak out within the community, and there is a couple of us that do this, because we're for the people on various topics. The issue with these lot, the issue with who they're involved with, a lot of them are very sneaky, they're out for themselves, and that's the problem. They're very selfish people who the brethren are linked with as well. Yeah, we all know, you've got Powys County Council, the planning officers, as I said, the AM, the MP, they all backed off. Nobody come. They never had pictures there. They didn't come and try any. They didn't do what they should have done. The local town council, county council, they never at all did anything. And that in itself, to me, speaks volumes. So they can say, I mean, as I said, when they say someone who likes causing trouble.
Someone who likes making trouble. No, it's not. No.
Is this trouble?
I think we put the boot on the other foot.
Yeah, respect.
Put the boot on the other foot. And what would happen if somebody did that to one of their graveyards?
Exactly.
Would they make trouble?
That is what I said to Jake Berriman, who's the portfolio holder for the county council, and he smirked in the meeting at me, and I was furious. I said, "You find this funny? You find what they have done funny?" And he did. And no, I don't. I said, "Well, you're laughing." And that was it. It was. I don't know. I don't know where these people are from. I don't know what's going on with people. All I just know is it's
corrupt, really, isn't it? It's completely corrupt.
So
money and greed. What I am seeing through all of this, through what I've read, and through the involvement with obviously the ex-brethren and listening to your stories, it's horrific what I'm hearing. It's horrific what I've read, and it's all about, and you are 100% right, it's greed, corruption, control.
Yes.
And that's what I'm seeing. And that is somebody who's not a brethren, who's had nothing to do with any of you before until, the end of July. And when I first had contact with somebody. And that is it. And that's what I've seen. That's all I've seen now. And they've mentally abused the women, and they do. From what I'm reading, they really. There was a word this morning. Somebody, I think on something I read, and I can't think what the word you use now. When they're just controlled, they can't think for themselves. And I didn't realise how bad it was, and that is the truth. They're not saving you. They're not. I just don't get it. I just don't, honestly. And this now, and they don't like the control. They don't like it that somebody's stood up against them. I can see that. It
makes you wonder, because I know of another case going back about 5 or 6 years where the local people tried to campaign against. It was against some trees that were cut down that shouldn't have been cut down, a bit like the hedge, Jackie, and nothing came of it. What it makes you wonder is how much this has happened with other planning permissions that have come in as much as plans go in and then what actually happens might deviate from the plans, and unless there is an objection, it flies under the radar.
Well, the issue with this was there was objections. There was 23 objections. And
your petition as well had a few signatures.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's right. Well, before this, a year ago, there was 23 petitions, because there's only 27 residents there anyway in the hamlet. So the 23 signed the petition, and that got ignored. How could that get ignored? They gave genuine reasons. They got proof. There was letters, and they ignored it, and they still signed it off. This couple who are relatives signed it off, who work for the council.
When did the Brethren actually buy the chapel and the plot of land? How long ago?
I can't say. I think it was about 2019. Just before COVID. Could have been 17. Wasn't that long. I know that the plans went in on 2021.
Right.
But the land was owned by someone else, and it was some sisters. But it's supposed to have been a resident. This is another thing. See, we're none of the wiser on this, and we're asking questions on this. We got told it was going to be for residents, so basically residential. So it's going to be a 2-bedroom place.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not sure whether that went through or not, because when we asked Gemma Bufton at the meeting, is it will they have to go back to planning to ask for the change of use for it to be a meeting hall? We got told by Gemma Bufton, oh yeah, but it was a chapel before, so yes, it stays the same. It's always been, there's been no change of use. Now we were told there was change of use. We were told it was actually a residential 2-bedroom residential place. So I'm a bit confused by that one, and we still haven't had answers from Powys County Council, because they haven't put the plans on site, so we haven't seen it. We've only got those ones that you've got now. We've all got. Prior to that, funny enough, they're not there.
Aren't plans, again, this is a bit my ignorance about planning, which you would know, Jackie, but aren't any plans supposed to be public property?
Yeah, public domain.
I thought go onto a council's website, and if your neighbour was planning to build an extension that needed planning permission, you could just go on and view, and they're there.
Yeah, oddly enough, they're not on this case anyway, which is a bit strange, I think.
Yeah,
so, and when we've asked, we've asked, and we're still not being given the answers. So so the only plans we've got are the ones that we have access to right now. But I mean, this has been going on, I think, since 2002. It got objected. I mean, it'd been objected, and then all of a sudden, signed off. There we are. Thank you very much.
Bit of cash on the backhand there.
Oh well, we had COVID. I'm sorry, love, you weren't locked in last year, which was 2022. You weren't locked in. You could have come down and had a look, and you would have seen what they wanted to do was to go over graves. But she wouldn't do it.
So what I've been told by an insider is that the modus operandi with these rooms is you find a suitable building or land, buy the building without planning permission, and miraculously the planning permission will come. So whatever is happening, and we have no proof that anything untoward has happened, so I will stress anything we say is speculative. People can draw their own conclusions. Something must be going on, because most people wouldn't buy a building without being pretty sure they could get change of use and planning permission for what they wanted. Otherwise, what are they going to do with the building? Is that a fair comment? I mean,
I say that's fair enough, because you wouldn't go and buy it, would you? I wouldn't go and buy it.
No.
Nobody with any common sense would go and buy a building that it's got no water, it has no toilet, it had nothing in there. So unless you knew it was going to be able to be put into what you want it to, you wouldn't go and buy it. What I was concerned about, which I think you might have seen in the write-up, it says that the pulpit has to stay within there. It was supposed to stay in that chapel. Now I'm hearing that the Brethren would not allow such a thing to happen.
No.
I've been told that would not happen. So then somebody said, I got told that, they'll put it into a wooden chamber up in the roof. Well, there's no roof. There is a roof, but there's no second floor in there. It's literally just, there's no second. So unless they're going to plan on, but then I got told they wouldn't use the meeting room if the pulpit was in there.
No, they wouldn't, because
No, exactly, because we're obviously the evil lot, so that's fine. Or whatever you want to call us. I don't know what there is loads of names, I'm sure. But I just think, and when I questioned that as well, and I asked for the book. Now, when you, as I said, you have a book where you have a register, and I asked Peter Roberts for that as well. I said, the deaths and all that. I said, where's the book? Oh, we didn't have it. Well, surely a church or chapel would have certain items that stay with it, with that. 1840.
But they're clueless. They've got no idea about this kind of thing.
No.
They are absolutely out of their league on this. I mean, their churches are basically warehouses with carpet. They have no windows, just an entrance door, maybe a fire exit for regulations, and toilets, and like an area where they prepare the Lord's suppers, like the life and the cup and all that. Other than that, it's literally a glorified insulated warehouse. It's not a place of worship in the terms of what we think about here as a place of
what
worship,
we'd understand it
with things like a pulpit. And I don't even know what a rood rail is. That's how naive even I am. And I've been out here just over a year, so I know what a pulpit is, but I don't know what that rail thing is. But they definitely wouldn't keep that in there, because it's not what they do. I mean, where even is that? Have they literally?
Well, that's my concern. I've asked that, and because obviously you can't access it, so they won't let you in. I have asked a couple of the workmen, but obviously they're sort of like the ones that were there. They're sort of staying a bit quiet now because they know there's so much controversial over it. They're a bit.
Are they Brethren workmen, or are they non-Brethren?
No, they are actually the local contractors. I know some of them.
Okay.
So
because most like the ripping out of the hedge, that will have been done by PB's Brethren on a Saturday. I could probably name a bunch of them, and they'll have just ripped it out and taken it away in the back of a trailer or something, who's owned by someone Brethren.
Very quickly. You are right. It did go extremely quickly. Well, yeah, literally it was gone in a day. And you can imagine it's a huge edge. I mean, it could have been 70 feet long. It was about 50, 70, probably was about 70 feet actually, we think with measurements. At least 7 foot high. During nesting season, there was birds in there. There were 100%. You go and take a hedge down during nesting season and see if you didn't get fined. Do you know what I mean? It's just absolutely.
They did that in a village in Surrey, actually, on a Saturday. All the trees were chopped down, and I think that's exactly what you said, Abby. They did it themselves, and that's where the neighbours got quite irate about that.
There's a regulation that, I mean, farmers aren't even allowed to cut their hedges.
Yeah.
I think it's September or something like that.
Oh, yeah, it's in September. And what happened was Peter said, oh, well, and he named the person who cut the hedge. I happen to know the person who cut the hedge very, very well. That person cut the hedge, and I know that because I know his invoicing. He cut that hedge on the last day and before nesting season, right? We know he did. We know what happened, right? He had no idea that hedge was being took out. He just got told to cut it, which is what he does every year, blah, blah, blah. If they were going to take that hedge out, what they're supposed to have done is put netting over it. Now, I'm sure, I don't know if you go around Great Britain, you will see in certain places when they're taking hedges down, they put special netting, don't they? Whether it be orange or whatever. Why did they not put that netting over? Was a question I asked both Ben and...
Because they don't care.
And they didn't. In fact, they looked at me like going, like, what netting? You could see the face. What are you talking about?
They as Abby said, they wouldn't have the sort of worldly, wise knowledge
of they.
This is nesting season.
There's no respect for animals anyway.
No, well, I didn't even. That's something else I found out, that they actually don't have pets, which is even more like, oh my goodness.
But yeah, they have no respect in any way for they will torture animals.
Yeah.
Wow, that's another story for another day, I think, because I read that one as well. But yes.
In amongst all of this, so you've got this group that came along and dug up over graves and put tarmac down over it, seemingly against what the plan said. Total disrespect. They're then being quite rude about the residents who have rightly raised objections.
Really?
Has the word sorry ever been mentioned?
No, and that's something I have listened out for, and no, they haven't apologised. They don't. I can imagine they don't apologise, and they certainly haven't apologised. Saying that, actually, just thinking about, I haven't got my thing on. I think I might have had. Oh no, sorry for the delay in getting back to you. That was it. That was.
No, that's not sorry though.
No, that's not a sorry. Sorry for actually concreting over people's ancestors' grave.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it was the sorry for the not getting back to me. That was it. That was that Ben Lines.
Yeah.
I don't think they know the meaning of the word apologise.
No.
Imagine they do.
I remember somebody, an ex-member, telling me that in one of their visits from the priest said quite categorically, and I think this phrase sums them up, even when the brethren are wrong, they're right.
Right.
Yes.
That was said so often.
Yeah.
So often.
So that is a quote. Is it? I mean, I've only ever heard this hearsay, but you've heard it said actually. Those of you that left,
It's said in the church meetings even sometimes.
And if you don't believe it, don't oppose it.
Yeah.
If you don't believe in it, don't oppose it.
Yeah. So
that's bollocks.
So what I'm trying to get at here with the situation that you're faced with, Jackie, most people will say what they did was atrocious and disrespectful and inhumane. Whatever your religious faith, religion has nothing to do with this. This is on humanitarian grounds. When somebody does something that the majority of the population thinks is inhumane, the first thing you would expect is, I am sorry that we did this. But when you've got an attitude that's inbred that says, even when we're wrong, we're right, you kind of see what you're up against psychologically, don't you? Which is probably what you have found when you've tried to talk to the brethren. Have they turned round to you and approached it differently, saying, I am so sorry. I don't speak about we are so sorry. We didn't realise the graves were there. Please can we apologise to the residents? Please can we have photographs of how it looked? And at any cost, we will restore it to how it was. Would you feel very differently about it?
Yes, because I'll tell you why. The attitude of Peter Roberts was what got everybody's back up, I think. Just that pure, you got out the car, told us to move on. And it was like, if we'd have had an apology, I'm sorry, I've got a dog.
That's okay.
In the conversation.
That's okay. You're normal.
We've had cats on the podcast, dogs. It's fine.
If they'd have apologised and said that, it was a misunderstanding. I couldn't really say it's a misunderstanding what they did.
No, but if there'd been some,
certainly yes. If you'd had more empathy, they lacked empathy. They didn't consider other people's feelings, and we would have. If it had been, if it had been more, They were really unapproachable. It was totally unapproachable. Their attitude was really, it was wrong. It was how they dealt with it. Yeah, if they'd have been more. I mean, what I don't like is where I keep seeing where they say, "Oh, they want to work with your neighbours" or whatever. What's the quote they keep using? I can't remember. What
we live alongside. Quotes about we live alongside the community and we work with our neighbours and all this. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking is the issue. They say all this, but they don't.
Yeah,
are they?
That's an outsider's perspective. Imagine what we feel like.
I know.
Do you know what I mean?
I know. I honestly, I don't know. It is shocking. It's shocking. I said what I've heard. Their attitude should have been better towards us, and it wasn't. It was totally disrespectful. They didn't care.
I mean, did you actually want what is basically a cult in your village anyway?
You what, sorry?
Do you want what is basically a cult in your village anyway?
No. Right. No, obviously we don't, because I do not. The thing is, I do not believe in their way of. I let them do it because I thought the women was happy to be controlled. I am not going to be controlled. I've never been controlled. And I've seen friends, even in our world, if you like, where women have actually been controlled. It does happen. We do see it. But we are, where we are, we're told, we know there's help there to help us. And it's not right. You go to prison for mental control now. You couldn't do before. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You could go to prison for it now. And, it used to be physical, but now they've brought the mental side of it. And I'm all agreement, because that can have a huge effect on you mentally,
Definitely.
The manipulation, the control. And I just see, the problem I've got now is I see them as that. Yeah. When I look at them now, when I seen them bumped into these women today, and I looked and they looked at me, they were quite, I must admit, they were quite hard-faced looking at me. I must admit that. They didn't not do eye contact. And I just looked back. Actually, I had empathy for them, because I thought, oh my goodness, you are in a different world to us. You are so controlled, and wouldn't it be nice if they all just turned around and, I don't know, turned on them, and it's all wrong. It's all wrong. But, and I said, and we know through what I've learned, it's money, corruption, and greed, and control.
Yeah. I have another question, and I think it's one of my last ones. But when they've done the restoration work, has it been actually investigated as to whether the graves have been disturbed on a deeper level?
The issue we've got, and I'll be honest with you, I've spoken to somebody yesterday. We've been told that the ombudsman isn't taking it any further, because it went to the ombudsman. The police aren't going to do a prosecution. And as for the Home Office, well, the issue I've got there is, because I got seen, and it was in writing that I only seen, I think, in the paper that the MP had sent it over to the Home Office. But we've got no proof of that. And like I said, the MP is a Conservative, and a lot of the donations and the charity money goes to the Brethren, and it goes in full circle, doesn't it? So,
and the Newtown Brethren bring in a lot of money with their businesses and their houses, and it upgrades the Newtown area. And the MPs will see that and be like, wow, this is really benefiting our town.
Well, they're all churchy, aren't they? Because you've also got the Hope Church, which is the Pentecostal. You've got the Evangelist Church, which is, I don't know what they're doing, but they're all linked as well, because they have rapid relief team going to those. So when they have a function, the rapid relief team goes. Okay. So do you know what I mean?
They're connected on the outside, but they're definitely not on the inside. Yes, the Brethren don't do connect. I do know what you mean now.
But then our AM, I know, is very, very connected with the Hope Church. You know, so the issue when you really start, it's like having a family tree, and the branches all coming off, but they're all, if you actually look, there's a connection, and the connection is obviously the charitable side of what they're doing. It's where the money's
coming from. It's not charitable, though.
No, I know, but it's I know it's not.
The apparent charitable side.
It's like it's where they get the money from, isn't it? I should say, which is under the umbrella of charity.
Yes,
and that's how I mean it.
Is there anyone privately that could we set up a fundraiser or anything? Like, who actually investigates disturbance of graves?
I suppose it is the Home Office, isn't it? There's a burials and something, I can't remember what it was now, crematorium and something. It's those ones, isn't it? Okay. It's them, and it's where the thing is, we were seeing how far they're going to, I mean, personally, I think that's it. What we've got those pictures there, I don't think they're going to do anything else. I think they're going to stick the headstones on, and that'll be the end of it.
That was going to be one of my questions, actually, as Anne's just bringing up the picture again. This is what you saw the other day. Do they think that is it? Do they think that is that they're going to put that? And I mean, have they actually communicated with you what they've done there and why?
No, so I actually had no, they've not communicated with me. That is pictures taken, obviously, from people up there, and I've got that. No, I had him telling me, and Ben Lyne sending me an email saying, he said the workmen are going to go up on Saturday to have a look and sort something out. And he said he didn't want any of the workmen being disturbed by anybody, dictating. Lucky for him, I wasn't here. I was actually over in England, so I wasn't in Wales at all. So he was very lucky that weekend I wasn't here. But obviously
you thought you listened to him.
Yeah. Do you know whether the workmen that actually put this back were the original contractors who were non-brethren, or was it brethren that went in and put the soil back?
I got told it was the original contractor did go in. However, Peter Roberts was there too.
Okay.
Which shocked the fact that he was actually there as well, but he was there too. So it was.
Well, this will be his little project because it's in his area. So it's his baby.
Yeah.
So if anything goes wrong, it's on his head, and people will be literally ripping his head off and shitting down his neck. So it's his baby.
Publicity.
Solve it.
Yeah. And even to the point where if it's not solved, he could find himself in trouble with the brethren, couldn't he? Ultimately, if the publicity is that bad, that's what happens.
I think is hilarious because I know him.
Yeah.
And
we've asked for a memorial service as well because we
deserve it.
Absolutely.
We've asked for a memorial service once the headstones have been put back in the right places. But
that will be a miracle if that happens.
I don't think it will.
I don't think they'll organise it, Jackie.
No, I said that we would, but I do not think they will allow it, because bear in mind, they still own this. We don't own this. They still own it. We have, I think, right of way to go into there. But
it's a grave. They must have no rights over that graveyard because...
Well, they bought the graveyard and they bought the chapel.
Okay, but that's got other people's relatives in. So
I know, exactly.
If I went and brought
if I go back
with like a church that had got planning permission to be turned into a house, because it happens, I would have to be prepared for people to come into my, I don't know, garden or whatever.
Yeah, I think they have to give access rights.
Right.
I think, but I wouldn't be 100% on it, because I got told as well, in a church, yes, but it's a chapel. And there is different rules between a church and a chapel graveyards, I got told. There is a different rule.
Sorry, Ross. No, I was just going to say, you can bet your bottom dollar a few years down the line that the access will be fully locked and you won't even be able to get in there.
Yeah. And that's why I think they've kept the gates, because we asked for those gates to be removed.
Yeah.
We said we want the gates
to be locked,
and we want a hedge re-put back up. They said they were going to keep the outside there's tarmac, isn't there? A little bit of tarmac for 2 car spaces, and they were ever so kind, because they said that we could keep. They were going to leave the tarmac where we're standing. Yeah, that there. They're going to leave the tarmac area for us. That's very good of them.
Yes,
but we're not stupid people. They aren't leaving that tarmac for us. They're waiting for it to calm down to then suddenly open it all up again.
Yeah.
And if I can just reiterate the message that fell into my hands, one sentence. So this is a message that was circulating around the Brethren community between Brethren meetings. The graveyard won't be owned by the Brethren once the work is completed, but we will maintain it. So that's what they're telling their own people.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, to be quite honest with you. Although it's something
Would you be happy with that, Jackie, or not? I mean, who would own it? The council, or...
They own it. They own it because they bought it.
I mean, this is just my cynical mind, but do you think they're telling the rest of the Brethren that just to stop any questions being asked?
Yes, I do. I think that message is very much to calm down any questions that might be raised inside. It is to belittle the concerns of the residents where you live, Jackie, in their eyes, so that questions don't get asked. And it's the sort of tactic they play whenever, frankly, they know they've done something wrong.
Yeah, because if I remember what the Ben Lyne said to myself and my husband on the very rainy day, he said we will maintain it for a short while, but he didn't say what happens after that. So
they'll do as
who
much
are they going
as
to sell it to? I mean,
they will do as much as they have to do to pass muster, to get you off their backs.
Yeah, that's
and
what
the authorities.
I mean, the thing is, we still don't, until we know whether that chapel is a residential one or whether it's a meeting hall one, because we still don't know. We do not know, right? Then if they were going to do a change of use, then obviously the people are going to go against it. I can tell you now, there's going to be objections straight away. Whatever they want to do right now, because of what they've done to us, there is going to be objections. It's happening. If they want houses built on the little bit of land around the site, which is possibly what they may be looking at, or they may have bought the land, who knows, which is probably what they are doing, or their plan was, there's going to be objections. There's going to be they are not. And I think now what this has actually done against them is, whenever there's any planning going around in this area now, and it is to do with the Brethren or the Dolafon Gospel Trust, there's going to be objections, and there's going to be a lot of them now.
Yeah. And I'd like to extend that probably beyond Wales, because I know of two areas, one just outside Cambridge and one just outside Buntingford. And this is being told to me by non-Brethren that have been bought by the Brethren. One, I believe, is a village hall. I think that's right. And one is a pub. And they have
pub.
Now, I know for a fact. That shocked me. So what I want to say to the residents that live in that area is these properties have already been bought. So I can see a pattern here. And it's not that you're accusing anybody of wrongdoing, because we have no proof at this point, but there's a pattern here, isn't there? These are properties that have been bought by the Brethren and at present have no planning permission for anything.
Actually, Stafford brought a pub and they converted the back room of the pub into a meeting room, and they've done nothing with the front.
I mean, if they buy these properties and they put in planning permission and it goes through the due process, residents are consulted, it's passed through the right committees that have no conflict of interest, and they get their planning permission and they stick to the plans. I don't think anybody would have any objection to that, would they?
Well, unless they knew who they were, unless they knew that paedophiles were going to be meeting in a church down the road, then I expect they might have some objections.
Well, they may do, but I mean, if the due process is being followed, because as you say, Jackie, and I agree, Abby, most people don't really know what goes on or who the Brethren are, as Jackie herself certainly said she didn't. But if you take it on the face of it, there's nothing wrong with that. But what seems to be happening is properties seem to be being bought. Somehow planning goes through, no questions asked, which we don't know why. And
money. It's money and the right contacts.
Well, I'm not sure if I've got this correct, but Kings Lynn, they bought their plot of land for their new city room, and they had no end of trouble with the planning. And in the end, they were basically told to do anything by any means possible to get the planning through. Yeah, because they had no end of trouble, and they got it passed in the end. The meeting is there to this day. So,
Jackie, if you think that something has gone on with the way the plans for the Hodley Chapel were passed, do you think that will ever come out? I mean, I know people will go to lengths to hide it.
Yeah, it will if it comes into my domain, that's for sure.
Yes, girl. Love it.
Love it,
yeah. What did I have the other day? I had my cheek swelled up a bit the other day, and one of the girls actually said, "Oh, I bet they got a voodoo doll." And it's getting to be a bit like, it's almost like a bit funny. No, what happened, what has happened, and what does happen is planning was under investigation. I don't know if you're aware of it. And a report got put through Audit Wales about our parish planning in May, and it was not for good reading, let's put it that way. It was pretty horrific, and they were not happy with how how he's planning or actually doing things, or maybe not doing things in the correct way. So I am aware that a very, very good report has actually gone regarding this, because I know the person who sent it, and I've read it and I've seen it, and it's gone off to Audit Wales, bringing up obviously the Brethren or Dolafon Trust. And they're saying that obviously they've got properties that they seem to be allowing to be built with no local needs on them, and other things that are happening. So that has gone to Audit Wales, which is.
Do you want the Brethren to know this, because they will watch this podcast?
Doesn't matter, does it? It's gone. Okay. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I know it's gone. It's gone. And to be fair, if there's any corruption, they'll stop it anyway, won't they?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yes. If you look at it from the point of view, we know it's gone. I'm happy it's gone, because it needed to go. I wasn't the one who sent it, but I read it, and I just think it needs. They may stop it. They're going to have people in the higher up. This is the problem. This is the issue. And I feel sorry for yourselves. I'm not really bothered about me, because the only impact I've had is having to deal with the people who are very distressed about the graveyard and what's happening down there. But you lived in it. You've been a part of this cult, as Andy says, and I think many people are starting to think that. I genuinely feel sorry for all of you, and I think you're survivors. You're strong. I've been battling with them the last couple of months, and I just see the arrogance and the greed and just the whole disrespect they've got for people like me, as worldly people. But you people are amazing. Honestly, I really, really do think you're strong-willed, you're amazing, and do you know what? It's their loss that you've left them, isn't it? Really,
it is.
Well, and you want to do better things. No, you will. You will. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm in awe of what you've done, all of you. You were really brave and clever people, and what a great community you lot are. You are really.
Yeah.
And I'm glad.
Thank you.
I'm glad I had the contact from a relevant person, and even if I was a bit suspicious at the time, but you know what? The best thing I ever did, answering in the the message.
And the three ladies that you see, because you mentioned about the women being suppressed in there, the reason we're out here is because we wouldn't be suppressed. Well, I can talk for myself anyway.
No,
and I can certainly say Jackie, and I can certainly say Anne and Ross.
Yeah,
female, but you're of the same.
I'm gay, so it counts, I think.
Okay,
I think,
and Ross,
and Ross was proud of it and wouldn't be suppressed. And the Brethren don't like it, do they, Ross?
Fair play to Ross.
And it took a hell of a lot of fight to get to where we are, and I've only just started on my journey compared to Anne and Jackie and Ross, and it's really hard going, because we still live in the same villages we did, in the same houses we did, and they're right in your face. And I love rubbing myself back in their face. I mean, it's brilliant. I mean, one of the mums has literally moved school because I said hello to her every morning. Her child was in the same class as mine, and just because I said hello and I made a point of it, she's moved her child to a different school. But it is tough. It is really tough, and especially the things that I'm fighting for, and you're fighting for with your children. As in, I was sexually abused, and fighting against the sexual abuse that's still happening. Tiny children in there. It's everything out of you. So, Jackie, I take my hat off. Jackie Davies, I take my hat off to you.
Definitely.
To stand up to these people, because it takes guts.
Yeah.
And just as an aside, going back to what, you made a joke about a voodoo doll, I wouldn't be surprised if at this moment they're actually praying for your removal, because that's what they're doing.
They're doing that for me. Not working.
They might have a bit of a problem, because I went to spiritualist a few months back, actually, before this happened, and I've got a guardian angel who's looking after me, so I don't really worry. So you know what? If it's my time to go, it's my time to go, and that's my attitude. You know what I mean? It's nothing what they've done. If it happens, it happens. I just think, I just feel that their control that they've had over people. I mean, I feel sorry for take you, Abby, and obviously I don't know full stories of Jackie and Anne, but just listen to you. The hardest part for you, I think, for all of you inside, is who do you trust? You know, who, you know, it must be heck of a situation you were in, not knowing who you could trust enough to say, I need to get out of here.
Nobody.
I can't trust anyone.
Nobody. And to add to what,
you have to live in your head with that.
it's awful though. It is, isn't it? I mean, you say that, but then there's obviously, I don't know how many's out of there now, but there is a lot. There seems to be quite a few of you all come out, and you've been able to join together.
Yeah,
which is
that's
amazing.
what the internet's done for us.
Evil and opposed and this and that. No, actually, we're fighting the good fight, and we're fighting for what's true. I mean, there's sexual abuse cases in Newtown, so, and I know of them personally. So they can't be like, oh, we're different from all that, because no, you're not.
No, that's shocking, isn't it? That's disgusting, to be quite honest.
It's the fighting that partly it keeps me going, because obviously I try and fight against the homophobia in there, and it gives you a drive to, you know, see it through and keep going, really.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to add to what Abby said, because leaving is hard, but we all know there's people in there that are trying to leave, and they're on that cusp. You know, all of us get contacted periodically, and they're right on that cusp. And to try and describe to somebody who hasn't been through it, and that's not what it's like to be on that, I want to leave, you've been there, we've all been there, but there's people currently in that situation, and they've got this huge pressure coming onto them from one side that gives them wobbles every second of the day. And then they do talk to ex-brethren, and I would add, that is their choice. I would never force somebody in there to talk to me. It is their choice to. And if they said they didn't want to talk to me, I wouldn't contact them. And that mental yo-yo can actually destroy some people, and it takes such strength to work through that, doesn't it? So I'm saying that for anybody inside that's listening, basically. But you've got the strength.
It's worth
every day.
Bit of fight.
Yeah. Once you get there.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the hardest things, or for our family, the hardest things have been complete cut off from any family and any friends. Once you get over that, you run like the wind. And don't get me wrong, you still have everyday struggles, because that's what life's about. Life is hard. It throws whatever it can at you, especially abuse survivors. We have to fight for every breath. And yeah, once you make that move, and contact us, we are not going to make you leave. We're not going to encourage you to leave. We're here for both sides of the coin, or I am anyway.
Yeah, and to anybody in there, it is the hardest thing you'll ever do, but it's also the best thing you'll ever do.
I sing about freedom in hymns, and they don't. It's really sad to me. Like, I was flicking through the hymn book the other day, and I was like, they're literally singing about being free and freedom and stuff like this. They don't know what it is. Like, to have through true freedom, whether through Christ or whatever perspective you want to put on it. I'm still a Christian, but I'm still free through Jesus, and I'm still out here. I'm still going to be saved. I'm still a Christian. There's a lot to think about, but we're here. Like, I do talk to a lot of people, and I'm here for anyone that wants to.
Yeah. So, Jackie, the situation at the chapel at the moment, they've started.
Sorry, that was a bit of a sideline.
That's right. No, not at all. It's fine, Abby. It's a conversation. That's what happens. That's what it's about. The situation at the chapel now, they've started to restore it. What do you think's going to happen next? Do the residents, I mean, obviously we've heard your opinion on what they're doing and your concerns about how they might restore it. What do you think will happen ultimately? Speculating.
I think I'm probably going to get an email telling me that's all you're going to have done now. Well,
you're mingling with the ex-brethren. We're no longer speaking to you.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. I did say something like, I know what you lot are like, something like that to those words when I did bump into him. Oh yeah, I know exactly about you lot. And he was like, oh. I don't know. As I said, he knows what we've asked for. And I think obviously I haven't sent him over the photographs that I've actually had. And my next step is to send over to Ben, possibly tomorrow morning, actually. And I'm going to send a lengthy email. I'm going to say, well, what are you going to do? What is happening? What is the next step? Because we would like to know.
Yes.
I am going to obviously ask them about equipment to find the deceased, with the graves.
Where they are,
so they can put the headstones on correctly. We have written to Powys County Council asking, because if you actually look, to be fair, a lot of the comments on the social media page, the Facebook page, under those photographs, they're pretty, interesting comments, if you like, and they are asking right questions. So what we will be doing as well is putting a post up tomorrow again saying, please contact Willem Davies at Powys County Council, who's the head planning officer, and please, if somebody needs help with a template letter, we can get one sorted for them. And, because obviously you do have people who struggle in aspects of doing that and don't know what to do. They want to get involved. They haven't got, that's fine. Don't worry about it. We can send over the information. We can help you. Because I think they didn't like that they were getting bombarded with emails. In fact, they made a reference to that, not the Brethren, now Powys County Council. They weren't happy with it, but hard luck.
Yeah.
No. Absolutely.
If you're going to support such applications, then expect the consequences from the people, because at the end of the day, it's the people on this side of the fence that are going to be knocking on the doors and demanding answers. And as I said, this has opened up a big can of worms, to be fair, locally. Have
you got security on your house?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, we've got security.
We've
got 4 of those horrible things they don't like. Dogs.
Oh yes, those horrible,
I wouldn't want to mess with
creatures.
At least 2 of them. And they're very, very protective of the owners.
Yeah.
So there is.
I've just got one question. There was an article in the County Times on the 21st of September, and it says in there that the Dolafon Gospel Hall Trust, who own the chapel, and their agent Ian Price have been told by the council they must reduce the size of the vehicle access gateway, install a pedestrian gate, reduce the hard standing area, and remove the fence post within the graveyard within the next 14 days. I wanted to know, have those fence posts been removed yet or not?
The fence posts did get removed, They are out of the headstones. Okay. And they didn't do the work within 20, I think it's been about a month, I think it has, but they have done it, and that was because the contractor they did use was on holiday.
Okay.
So they have done that.
Pedestrian gate?
What, sorry?
Pedestrian gate?
Pedestrian gate isn't there, I don't think. I think, not looking at those pictures, I think they've still got those big gates. I haven't been up there since I've been away and I've come back. But I think they've still got the big gates. And that's where I'm a bit, because one of those graves are very, very close to the opening of the gates when they open towards the chapel. So that's obviously a question. Basically, we've got to get answers again now on the further work they've actually done, which we do need.
We do.
That would be the way forward for it.
Well, Jackie, thank you so much for giving up your time to tell us what's happened up at the chapel. And what I sincerely mean this, I want to thank you from the ex-brethren community, because what you've done you've kind of given us strength, because we are used to being told we're bitter, we're opposed. And sometimes you end up thinking, almost not believing that, but almost thinking, are we? But when somebody who was very tolerant of this group and accepted them just the way they are, come up against them and realize the kind of bigotry they're having to deal with, I find that really heartening. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean that in a way that, yeah, we've been on the receiving end of that. And thank you for highlighting it, because the way you've raised awareness through your campaign for the chapel has kind of helped the whole cause, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And I also hope that people in areas where the Brethren have bought buildings start to ask questions and look a bit more closely. I'm not anti the Brethren having meeting halls, but I am anti them pushing through planning application in what appears to be an underhand manner and not sticking to the planning application that's been agreed. So sincerely, thank you so much, Jackie. I think you're a real trooper. I think we all go for that, wouldn't we?
Absolutely.
And we would love you to come back on and give us an update as and when it's, anything happens.
No, that's fine. Yeah, hopefully something will. But yeah, I will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Right, I'm between, where am I? How can I explain this? This is between Kerry, Son, on a back road towards Abermule, not far from Newtown in Wales. And from what I've seen in the paper, there's been a bit of a I don't know what's been going on, but something about this church house or this church, and is a respondents about putting a path over gravestones, and here it is. Oh, gates open. Have a look what's going on. Wow. So just what they're on about. Wow. Up close and personal, eh? So they put a driveway. This is what was on the news. Oh wow, so you can come to the graveyard. Oh wow, so if that grave's positioned here, is it underneath? Wow, don't people like to do what they want to do? Amazing. Look at the graves while we're here. 1932, 84 years old. Oh wow. Yeah, so somebody want to come here and just make a mess of it all, have they? Well, I just thought I'd come have a look myself and to see what you think. You think they've gone and done what they say they've done? I'm not insinuating anything, I just want to see what's happened. Let's have a look at the outside. The church is there. I haven't read up much on it, but I just thought it was in the paper, so I thought come and have a look. Yeah. Put the glasses on so I can see what dates on these. Quite old, aren't they? 1901 here. July 14th, 1901. Another one here, 1885. Sarah Jane. I hear that. Doctor Who, Sarah Jane. What's the other oldest ones here? 1891, I think. Edith Doro, 1943, I think that says. (1930). Jane, William White. 1962. Ooh. Yeah, it's not like you can actually walk round here, can it? Because the fence is all in the way. It's sort of cornered it all off. Can't really stand and look properly. I don't know what the laws are on this. 1956. Not that old, the graves, are they? 1932. Hannah. 1929. Pretty old, some of these people. 1914. It's an old one. This one here pretty recent. 1988. Our old priest. Yeah. I don't know. Has it spoilt it? Have they done anything wrong? I don't know. Why did they redo the pathway? All the way around it. And it is an amazing view. You can't see the same on the camera most probably, but it is amazing. I'd like to build a house here. So it's Hodley, so they're saying that they put a driveway over gravestones or moved them or whatever. I just thought, well, I'm in the area, might as well have a look around. See what I can see, but somebody's spent a lot of money on it. There you go. Quite a big plot of land as well. Yeah. These old church houses. I don't know whether it's been renovated into a house or what's going on. Looks like they're bringing water in here as well. Out sheds and anyway, thought I'd put my little bit on it. See what you think. Nice evening. Don't ask me what the date is. Keep forgetting. 9th of September 2023. There you go. All have an opinion. Anyway, I think I've done a little bit there. Not much more I can say really. Well, access to it all. Not much more to see, but looks like they're doing a lot of renovations. Anyway, see what happens. It looks like they want to corner it all off to make it awkward for you to get to see these stones. So did I do that bit? Or I've been a bit tight and didn't do somebody's family on this bit. Before I go, who is it? Belgian wife Richard Owen, 1881. Oh, no, I didn't look at these, did I? 1932, Mary Jane Owen. Edward Caulfield. What's that? 1873. Really? That's an old one. 1891. 1887. So these are pretty old. Caulfield families or something. Just like a private Caulfield, because Caulfields were quite a family I heard about when I was outside Welshpool many years ago. Caulfields, yeah, it's like a whole family side here. Another Caulfield, so yeah, definitely a family thing. 1905, Richard and Jane. Edward Caulfield, oh right, so I get the pattern now. It's all Caulfields, so it's a family plot. Wow, didn't notice that when I first come in. Now I've seen it. There you are, so that's why there's an uproar. Upsetting somebody else's plots. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say really. See what the outcome comes. It's on the County Times. If you want to see the edition for this month. Yeah. Family graves, eh? No wonder somebody's pissed. You bury them all together for a reason. Right, I'll leave it at that. Tell me what you think. Do you think it's bloody rude to do that fence too close to the sides of everywhere? Tell me in the comments. Tell me what you think. And we'll come back, see what happens. Bye for now.
If you are in a high-demand religious group and need help, please go to oliveleaf.network. To share your story or be a guest on the show, email info.getalife@proton.me. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to Get a Life, and comment.